This is every single fight to make next after UFC Fight Night Rio, Oliveira versus Gamrot. I've got all of the key fighters from that card on the screen right now. Some winners, some losers, and you may notice there is an empty box next to all of them, and that's where their next opponent's going to go, who I've hidden around the perimeter of the screen. I'll slowly reveal those opponents one by one as the video goes on and place them where they belong on the screen. Let's start straight away with the main event. Charles do Bronx, he's back. We're in the best timeline ever. Alex Pereira dispatches with Ankalaev. Charles Oliveira doesn't begin his downward spiral. I want you guys to understand, if Gamrot would have defeated Oliveira, we may have been talking about, is this the end of Oliveira? Is he going to retire on the mic after the fight? We are so back. Oliveira's coming off a win, and he made a call out, which is very, very important that he made a call out. Because if he didn't make a call out, the matchmaking of the lightweight division could be looking pretty different right now. I was talking about the fact that we might go on to see Paddy Pimblett versus Max Holloway, but now it's Oliveira versus Holloway for the BMF belt, and I don't even care about Holloway Pimblett anymore. I was on the Mighty Guru show with Demetrius Johnson, and I was saying, they've booked Oliveira versus Gamrot. They've got, Justin Gaethje might be fighting Ilia Topuria. We've got Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker. There's literally nothing left in the division other than Max Holloway versus Paddy Pimblett. And I've left Paddy Pimblett's face down here because I'm going to have to find a new opponent for him, because Oliveira has to take priority. If he's calling out Max Holloway's responded. They've had a fight before. This would be a rematch. Oliveira had an esophagus injury and went down holding his neck after nothing happened in the fight whatsoever. I think this would be a matchup that we need to see happen. It's not even like it's 0-1 to Oliveira against Holloway. It's like a fight never even happened in the first place, but they were in the cage together. So we got to right that wrong and get this matchup done. And also, when you think about this, Max Holloway is going to be putting up the BMF belt. And this is very important. Max Holloway is going to be putting up the BMF belt on the line, which is so weird because Ilia Topuria will have knocked out both of them, and they're going to be fighting for a BMF belt amongst each other, which is such an odd reality in the sport. But I guess Holloway didn't put it on the line against Ilia, so therefore he doesn't get it when he KO'd him. It's an odd thing that goes on, but that's just how it is. But Charles Oliveira's got to fight for the BMF belt. That's my main point. Paddy Pimblett, is he in the position of his career right now where he can be fighting for a BMF title? I don't like the BMF title, but I have to come to terms with the reality that it's going to exist in the sport moving forward. And if it is, it's got to be Oliveira versus Holloway fighting for it. As much as I love Holloway versus Pimblett, they're going to put a BMF belt on the line. It's probably going to be the second Paramount card in February or the third one in Wednesday. What's the name of the third month? It's not Wednesday. March. Wow. That is weird how that left my head there. March. There's going to be another Paramount card. So we've got to have massive stacked events with great main events on each of those, and that means we can have Oliveira versus Holloway headlining one of them for a BMF belt. That's huge, and Oliveira called him out. If he didn't, I'd be like, okay, let's do Holloway versus Pimblett, and maybe Oliveira can fight someone coming off a win in some of these upcoming matchups in the lightweight division, then we'll see what comes up next for him. But seeing as he made the call out, and seeing as Holloway responded, it's a no-brainer. It's fresh. Oliveira is staying active. This was his third fight since his fight with Arman Tsarukyan, in which time Arman Tsarukyan hasn't fought once. That's crazy to say because Oliveira, in the middle of all of those wins, those two wins over Michael Chandler and now Mateusz Gamrot, got KO'd by Ilia Topuria, yet was still back in there faster than Arman Tsarukyan for the third time. But Arman's fighting Dan Hooker at UFC Saudi Arabia coming up soon, or UFC Qatar, I think it is, coming up soon. So, if Arman wins, he could take that title shot off of Gaethje. But we'll talk about that when we get to the Pimblett bit. Mateusz Gamrot, on the other hand, though, bad loss. You got finished by Charles Oliveira. Welcome to the club. It happens to a lot of people these days in their career, especially in the lightweight division. Oliveira has the most submission wins in UFC history for a reason. It is a stock drop for Mateusz Gamrot, though, because there was this sort of build for Mateusz Gamrot in the build-up of this fight where it was like, he's the one everyone's ducking. He's the one who has a win over Arman Tsarukyan, even though I thought Arman won the fight. There was still all of these narratives, like he got robbed by Dan Hooker, he has a win over Arman Tsarukyan. When you think about things, Gamrot's the boogeyman of the division. So for Oliveira to shut him down, lock him up on the ground, take his back for like half the first round, walk him down on the feet in round 2 with no fear whatsoever, and then sub him, shoot in on a takedown, take down Gamrot, and submit him. That's very crazy to do. So Gamrot's stock did drop, but there is going to be some respect for stepping up, taking a dangerous fight on 2 weeks' notice. You got to take that into consideration. I think Gamrot needs to get back in there. And the only reason I'm doing this is because I know Gamrot's the only one who's going to actually take a matchup like this. And we do need to get the division moving. We should see Mateusz Gamrot versus Grant Dawson. Not the most fun or exciting matchup, but Grant Dawson has got to fight someone. He's on a win streak right now in the lightweight division since losing to Bobby Green, which again is not the best of losses to have. But he's been on a streak since then. So I reckon they should do him versus Mateusz Gamrot. It's a fun grappling matchup. I don't think Grant Dawson's got the level of jiu-jitsu that Charles Oliveira has. I think Gamrot would have a much easier time with a guy like Grant Dawson compared to Charles Oliveira. Dawson's not as intimidating on the feet against as Oliveira is. So I don't think Gamrot's going to have too much of a hard time with a matchup, but Grant Dawson's ranked. I think he's number 14 or 13 in the division. He's on a win streak. He needs an opponent. He's hard to get an opponent for because he's a dangerous matchup-ish, and he doesn't really have too big of a name either, so it's like there's no win for taking that matchup. But Gamrot is the guy who takes on anyone, anywhere, one of the few people in the division who does it. So I'm going to say Gamrot versus Grant Dawson is the matchup to make. We move on to the co-main event. You may have forgotten it even happened because it barely even happened, to be honest with you. This was one of the worst co-mains in a long time. But Figueiredo won. Could have gone either way, but Montel Jackson decided that he'd rather lose and risk a split decision in Brazil rather than throwing anything and really trying to build that lead. I reckon it could have gone to Jackson, but you can't argue with it. Not a lot happened in the fight. Deiveson Figueiredo. Merab Dvalishvili said, I'm awaiting you, Deiveson Figueiredo. Great win. Looking forward to our matchup. If that don't tell you the division's dead. Well done for rooting for that, everyone, by the way. If that don't tell you the division's dead, I don't know what does. Figueiredo comes off win over Montel Jackson in the worst performance you've ever seen. One of the most boring fights of all time. And Merab's trying to cut an angle for a matchup. That's how little we have going on. Make the Jan Merab rematch. That's what needs to happen in December. Add some strength to that December card where we've got Pantoja versus Van, which was leaked by Michael Aswell on the card just gone, UFC Rio. Thank you very much. And let's do Figueiredo versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Now, I know he's got a matchup against Mario Batista, but judging it from Patchy Mix's recent performance, I'm going to say that Umar's going to beat Mario Batista, and also based on his performance with Merab and other top contenders, I'm going to say that Umar is going to beat Mario Batista quite comfortably. But you don't get a title shot on a one-fight win streak. I mean, O'Malley gets a rematch, which is retarded that he got a rematch in the first place without winning a fight in the meantime. But he was a world champion. You know what I mean? We see things like this sometimes go on the sport. Adesanya gets his second chance at the belt after losing and not really doing anything in the meantime. But he was a long-time defending world champion. Umar Nurmagomedov beat no one, really. Got a win over Corey Sandhagen. We're not just going to give him infinite title shots off of a one-win situation. Let's put him on a win streak. He's the younger guy. If you burn up this opportunity for Umar to fight Merab, no one's going to beat him ever. Build Umar Nurmagomedov before you put him back into that Merab matchup. And let's give this division some time, because we could be looking at a situation, if you do just chuck Umar right back in there against Merab and he loses again, where there is nothing for Merab come early 2026. If he's going to fight in December and gets past Jan in their rematch, and then Umar maybe steps in June or July, and Merab beats him again, there's literally nothing going on. So take some time, build it up. I think this gives Umar more of a chance of beating Merab in their eventual rematch. And I may even consider picking him. It was a very close first fight. I reckon Umar versus Figueiredo should be next. If Umar Nurmagomedov gets past Mario Batista, that would be a decent scrap. I think Umar would win. I think Umar's the second best fighter in the division. And I think he should build. He should have 2 in a row. Have some confirmation, oh, now Umar's a different level of fighter. Even though he is stepping down in competition from like Corey Sandhagen and Merab, if he finishes Mario Batista or dominates him, which I think he will, at least dominate him, that's a good look. Then if he goes out there and say finishes or dominates Figueiredo, you can start saying, oh, Umar's really changed. Umar's a different fighter now. This is a different matchup between him and Merab. Then you have some level of hype. I just don't want him to chuck him back in there if he beats Mario Batista. So do him versus Figueiredo if he beats Mario, which I think he will. That's the matchup. Montel Jackson, on the other hand, I'm going to speed through this one because guy don't want to really fight. I'm going to give him Farid Basharat. Montel Jackson versus Farid Basharat, not a fun matchup. Not like something everyone's going to be crazy about. They're not the most entertaining fighters, but Farid Basharat's on a great win streak right now. Undefeated in the Bantamweight division. I think he's 5-0 at Bantamweight, and he's been beaten some pretty decent unranked guys. Chris Gutierrez, although not that good, is like a 15 to 25 range. 20 to 30 range, unranked bantamweight, 20 to 25 range. I'd say he's probably like floating around 24, 25 in the unranked region of the bantamweight division. So I think Montel Jackson versus Farid Basharat could be a good fight. I expect Montel Jackson to lose his ranking spot and float around number 16 or 17. But if Farid Basharat wins this one, he could just take that number 15 ranking spot and be the new good prospect on the block like Amian Zahabi was not that long ago before he got past Jose Aldo. So I think this should be Montel Jackson versus Farid Basharat. It's time for Basharat to get a jump up and a matchup this guy. They're going to get him ranked or a matchup against a still ranked opponent maybe at the time in Montel Jackson, which I doubt. We move on. Joel Alvarez got his 100% finish rate ruined by the referee who is dumb. A very, very dumb person is the referee, ruining Joel Alvarez's finish rate 100%. That's gone. You know how powerful of a marketing tool that is? So this many fights, this many finishes. Even Yuri don't have that. And Yuri's great promotability, but that's for different reasons. But there's something potent about an 100% finish rate in MMA. It's so difficult to do, and Alvarez got robbed of it, and I hate that. But I don't think they give him a ranked opponent next. I don't. Luque wasn't ranked. Now, listen, they could do. But I think if he wants to stay active and maybe be on, I think he should be on the Ilia Topuria card, which is why I'm not giving him a ranked opponent here, because the Ilia Topuria card is in January on Paramount, and they're going to need another Spaniard on there. You know what I'm saying? Because that's good promotability. And they're going to bring in Ilia Topuria's Spanish fan base, and there are no Spanish fighters on the roster other than Joel Alvarez. And if there are, they aren't as good as Joel Alvarez is, who's a real prospect. So I say give him a sacrificial lamb. Give him Michael Chiesa. That's what I want to see. Okay? And you can trick Michael Chiesa with this. You can say, look, Michael Chiesa, do you want to fight on Paramount? That'd be awesome, right? And he would go, yeah, that sounds awesome. That's a great idea. Oh, you want to be on the Ilia Topuria pay-per-view card? Maybe on the prelims? That's a really big spotlight for you. That's a huge fight for you. The first Paramount card. This is history in the making, Michael. And Michael Chiesa's going, I mean, what's the catch? It's Joel Alvarez. Have fun. Joel Alvarez versus Michael Chiesa. Let's get him coming off a finish again. Nice little finish from Joel Alvarez over Michael Chiesa. And then we can give Joel Alvarez a Joaquin Buckley, a D-Rod, one of these guys in the rankings. If Randy Brown gets past Gabriel Bonfirm, that's a fun matchup as well. If there's any of these types of matchups just in the rankings, 10 to 15 range in the welterweight division, that's what I want to see after we just get rid of Chiesa for once and for all. Okay? Vicente Luque, on the other hand, lost to Joel Alvarez, and I do think his best days are behind him. His chin did still look intact. I'm not as defeated as I was after the Joaquin Buckley fight, because I lost it after that, because I thought, oh my God, he's never going to be the same again. And in a way, he wasn't, because he used to be this unfinishable monster, and now it doesn't seem like he has that same level of durability that he once had. But he still has his chin, and he did all right in some moments. Not really. Past round one, not really. It hurts. He was one of my favorite fighters of all time. And I'm still rooting for him. But I think they should do Vicente Luque versus Jake Matthews. That's what I think they should do. Vicente Luque versus Jake Matthews is the matchup that I want to see. I reckon this is the most interesting matchup they can make. Jake Matthews kind of got wronged against Neil Magny because he had the adrenaline dump after they stopped the fight in the first round when they shouldn't have. So run Luque versus Matthews. It's a good fight for him. It's a big fight for him. It's a name opponent for him that's also unranked. You could sacrifice each of them to upcoming prospects. But I think there's other matchups for upcoming prospects, like Neil Magny, who will eternally face upcoming prospects until the end of his days, guys. It's just how it works. I don't make the rules, okay? So Luque versus Jake Matthews is the matchup to make. Mario Pinto, the troll. I'm not mocking him, by the way. It's just the way he trolled in the post-fight interview. That's now gone viral. I wanted to say, just give him Tybura. It's time. And I think he would beat Tybura. But I think there's a little bit of a middle ground we can go towards here for Mario Pinto. Deniz isn't that highly ranked outside the rankings at heavyweight. So let's build these guys. We have Walter Walker. We have Mario Pinto. We have actually good prospects in the heavyweight division. I think a good matchup that people would be amped for as a heavyweight fight between two people that look like athletes, which is very rare at heavyweight because most of the time it's morbidly obese, just simply obese, overweight, medium BMI range, and then athletes towards the top 7 of the division. But Mario Pinto versus Vitor Petrino would be a good matchup. Vitor Petrino was on the same card. He got a big win by KO. Mario Pinto got a big win as well. He got some virality out of it. He got a bit of name value out of it as well. So if they want to stay active, Mario Pinto, Vitor Petrino. Pinto speaks Portuguese. So does Vitor Petrino because he's from Brazil. Pinto's originally from Portugal, but he's from Portugal because he really speaks London like a Londoner born and raised. It's one of those weird things, but I reckon that'd be a good build-up. They could talk to each other at the face-off, a little bit of amp, maybe a little bit of back and forth. Who knows how it would go? And they're both athletic-looking heavyweights, so I think the winner of that can start. The winner of that can get Tybura, you know what I'm saying, and get a free win on their record. But I think that's what they should do next. B. Mesquita. Let me tell you, I'm very fond of B. Mesquita. I think she's going to go far in this game. Okay, I think she'll go very far in the women's bantamweight division. She looked very good, but let's not go crazy here. Okay, we do this with women's prospects where we give them an immediate jump up against a ranked opponent, and now we've lost them. She's undefeated. There's another undefeated Australian woman that recently won. I can't remember her name, McDonough or something like that, but I don't want to match them up. Let's build each of them because we need some life in the women's bantamweight division. It's dead right now, so dead they're digging up Amanda Nunes to come out of retirement and face Kayla Harrison, and even that might not end up happening. And if that doesn't happen, what have we got at women's bantamweight? We got nothing. So I think B. Mesquita or Mesquita versus Montserrat Hendon. This shit means something to me, man. This really means something to me, guys. I really need to see this matchup. I just need to see the pair of them, you know, bouncing around, you know, couple collisions. Maybe one of them gets wobbled. That's just ideal. I think that would be cinema. You know what I'm saying? Seeing in them get wobbled, each of them. Either one of them getting wobbled about a little bit. Constant collisions, you know what I mean? A lot of bouncing at range. You know, these two, you know what I mean? This is going to be cinema. I need this. B. Mesquita versus Montserrat Hendon. For all the milkmen out there, we just need this matchup. Paddy Pimblett, on the other hand. Let's move on. But that's a good matchup in my... That's cinema, guys. That's promotion 101. We're showing up to watch that. You can put it on the early prelim opener. I'll be there on time for the fight card, guys. And you have my word. Okay? But I think this earns like a main card of a pay-per-view slot. Perfect for a Paramount main card. Let's really put some promotion here. Okay? This is real promotion techniques. Paddy Pimblett, on the other hand. He might have got the short straw out of everyone here. Oliveira calling out Holloway is bad for Pimblett because Pimblett was kind of waiting and thinking, okay, am I going to get Gaethje? Am I going to get Arman? Am I going to get Ilya straight away? Am I going to get Charles Oliveira? What's going to happen? What's Pimblett going to get? It turns out nothing, maybe, which is so bad for him in hindsight, right? They could do, if Arman Sarukian beats Dan Hooker in easy fashion and calls out Ilya, and they still haven't booked Topuria versus Gaethje, and that might be what they're waiting for, by the way, because we still haven't heard that be made official, even though the rumors are already out there. Normally, when the rumors are out there, the UFC likes to say, okay, they've spoiled it. Let's just announce it now. But we still don't have anything official for that yet, so they might be waiting to see how Arman does. If Arman can win easily against Dan Hooker with a statement performance, call out Ilya on the microphone, it's fresh. The crowd's amped up, the fans are amped up for the fight, we want to see it. And says that he can make a quick turnaround in January to fight Ilya Topuria. Ilya might want to take advantage of that and say, Arman on a quick turnaround after a training camp for Dan Hooker, he wants to get right back in there. Sign me up, I'll fight him. So that might happen, and in which case we could see Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje. But I reckon if that doesn't happen, and we do see Ilya Topuria versus Justin Gaethje, then we will see this instead, which is the next step down for Pimblett. I think Paddy Pimblett versus Rafael Fiziev would be an interesting matchup. Fiziev's very good. He was supposed to fight Oliveira on this card. People are aware of him in the fan base. He's marketable. He's got clips you can post on Fight Week to build up a Paddy Pimblett type level fight. And I think it's actually like, in hindsight, even though I wanted all these big matchups for Pimblett, and if Poirier was still around, he would fix this problem perfectly, because you would just say, okay, just like we did with Saint-Denis, let's do Poirier versus Pimblett, and huge fight for Poirier, but he's gone. He's gone. But either way, Paddy Pimblett versus Rafael Fiziev could be what we resort to here, which is still fun. I think that's still an exciting matchup. And I reckon that could be on another Paramount card in February or March or whatever. I don't know what Pimblett's doing. Maybe this could even be in December. I don't know the severity of Fiziev's injury. So we'll see. Pimblett's attitude in the build-up was like he had something in the works. He's just waiting for it to be made official. You know? So I don't know. We really don't know yet what's going to happen. If they don't do Topuria Gaethje, they will do Pimblett Gaethje, which is an amazing fight. So we'll have to see what happens in November, and if the fight between Topuria and Gaethje gets announced before November as well, because there's going to be a logjam at lightweight coming up. There's a lot of these guys, and we've got to start matching them up. So like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Toodle pip. I'll see you later. Goodbye.